There is a lot of anime out there. So much, in fact, that even the most dedicated anime no-lifers won't be able to watch absolutely everything. And in this current age where there's like 100 shows coming out every season, first episodes are as important as they've ever been. A first episode is the gateway to a series, and the first part of it you'll interact with. So in a world with limited time and an unwatchably large amount of anime, a lot of people will only give a show one episode to decide if they'll keep watching it. There's sometimes a bit of leeway given if you've heard that the series is great or starts out a bit slow or whatever, but on average, if the first episode didn't draw you in, then you won't keep watching. Sometimes the first episode will be something you're just not that interested in, so you drop the show. Sometimes it'll be pretty good, so you decide to watch the rest of the season. And on rare occasions, you'll run into first episode syndrome. So, what is first episode syndrome? Well, I genuinely thought this was a decently common term, and I could swear that I'd heard it used before on anime forums and in reviews and stuff, but when I tried to look it up before making this video, I couldn't find shit about it. I could not find a single other human being using this term. I don't know if I'm being Mandela'd here, or if there's been some coordinated international effort to eliminate all evidence of this string of words from the internet, but just in case I did actually invent the phrase, I would like to officially declare that I, Pointy Boy, am founder and CEO of First Episode Syndrome Incorporated, and any future user of the term will henceforth owe royalties, which you can pay directly by subscribing to the channel. But anyway, first episode syndrome is when an anime has an incredible first episode that feels like it's setting up an amazing series that will be remembered for years and hailed as a masterpiece of the era. But then the show just never hits those heights again. Usually the show still ends up being decent or even good, but it just doesn't live up to the quality of that first episode. And I'm not talking about your run-of-the-mill anime that starts to drop off in quality as time goes on, or a first episode that showed some interesting ideas and seems like it had potential, but then just kind of fizzled out. I mean specifically, the first episode being a standout banger, and the series declining directly from there. This is a pretty uncommon situation, and I honestly could only think of a few anime that this even applies to, which probably gives further credence to the idea that this is not a real term, and I just imagined that I heard it in a Scamboli video or something. Zom 100 is an anime from last year that has one of the best first episodes you will ever see. You know, one of my favorite anime is Welcome to the NHK, but before I watched it, I for some reason thought the story was about a bunch of salarymen working at the NHK that kinda started to lose their minds from being overworked and then just snapped under the pressure. It turns out that Zom 100 is the story that I thought NHK was gonna be. The start of that episode is a grueling depiction of what it's like to work in a job you absolutely despise. The mentally draining tedium from doing the same things over and over. The middle managers that will expect impossible deadlines from you. And even in your free time, all you're able to feel is the dread of having to go back into work the next day. Anyone that's worked a soul-crushing job for shit pay can relate to how Akira feels when he's hoping a fucking comet will come take him out so he doesn't have to go into work the next day. But through this depressing view of being exploited by a black company, we get one of the most magical sequences you will ever see in anime. As Akira is getting ready to face another day in the seventh circle of hell, he discovers that the city's been infested with zombies. Instead of panicking or freaking out about the end of the world, the dude realizes he doesn't need to go into work anymore. And in one of the greatest scenes in all of anime, color returns to the previously grayed out world of Akira as he runs through the city celebrating his freedom. Seriously, throw this scene against any other amazing moment in anime. This scene stands tall with all of them and highlights what is such an overall superb first episode. Unfortunately, Zom never managed to reach the heights of that first episode ever again. And while I did enjoy the rest of the season, and would still recommend it to anybody looking for a fun show to watch, Zom 100 will always be an anime that peaked in its first episode, and pretty much exemplifies the idea of first episode syndrome. Next, I want to talk about Oshi no Ko. Now, before I get booed off the stage, I would like to clarify that I am not one of the people that believes this. But a pretty common opinion after the first season was that the story went downhill after that amazing 1.5 hour first episode. Again, I do not agree with this. In fact, I believe Oshi no Ko has hit even higher peaks since the prologue ended. But there's definitely a subsection of anime fans that were disappointed that this story about the dark side of the entertainment industry was going to so heavily feature the entertainment industry. I guess I can't rag on these people too much. When I watched the first episode of Frieren, I was certain that it was going to be a case of first episode syndrome. I really loved that first episode. I loved the originality of beginning the story after the classic hero's journey. I loved the themes of the passage of time and what time can mean to different people. And I loved the general atmosphere and melancholic tone of the anime. I was also convinced that the unique premise of the story couldn't be sustained for very long, and it would eventually run out of steam and just turn into a generic fantasy story. I was very wrong about Frieren, and I'm happy to admit that, because I do think it's a very interesting and special story. While you could maybe argue that it did just become a regular fantasy anime, the overall themes and vibes are still at the forefront of the story. There is still that philosophy of what happens to somebody after they achieve their goals. They slowly add information and context to the actual journey, instead of just dropping everything on us at once. And the passage of time is still a major theme. Even the tiny detail of how time is recorded by years since Himmel's death just adds so much to the anime and solidifies what the story is really about. I think Frieren is a masterpiece, and I'm truly happy that I was completely wrong when I thought it was going to suffer from first episode syndrome. As a side note, when the Oshi no Ko anime was about to start, I was up to date with the manga and was thinking about making a video called Oshi no Ko Isn't What You Think It Is, or something like that. But I decided against it because I didn't want to give any major spoilers. Then after it aired, I saw so many videos that were spoiling the shit out of it in the fucking thumbnail, and I was like, fuck me. It should have been me, not him. It's not like I'm delusional and think that video would have blown up and I'd be getting invited to the Trash Taste podcast right now if I had made it. But I was still a little salty about it after seeing all of those Oshi no Ko videos do so well. A theme I've noticed with all of these first episodes is that they could all be standalone films and they would still be considered great. I think this idea definitely applies to the first episode of To Your Eternity. This episode really hits all of the story beats you need for a complete narrative. There's an initial premise and mystery that is rather unique, there's characters that are easy to get attached to, there's a goal, a challenge, and a conclusion. To Your Eternity hits the ground running, with a first episode that can stand on its own and provide a very solid and emotional experience for the viewer. The thing is, after that conclusion, there is an entire bonus anime series. I don't want to go too hard on this anime, because truthfully, I only watched a few more episodes after that first one, but the drop in quality was so severe that it was such a massive slog to keep watching, and I just really couldn't be bothered finishing it. I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair to this one. Maybe it does pick up again later and become interesting. But I just really wasn't vibing with that Diet Dororo style story that differed so drastically from the mood of that first episode. The last anime I want to talk about is Gakogurashi, School Live. I've tried to be pretty vague about spoilers and stuff so far, but seriously, if you haven't seen the first episode of School Live, do yourself a favor and go watch it now, because I'm about to spoil the fuck out of one of the best episodes of anime you will ever watch. I am not the kind of person that gets scared or creeped out very easily, and that's especially true when it comes to anime. There are some horror anime that I enjoy, but I don't think anyone ever had to sleep with the lights on after watching Higurashi. There's just something about anime that manages to keep the piss firmly away from my pants, no matter how hard it tries to scare me. School Live has, by far, the most disturbing moment I have ever seen in anime. At the beginning of the story, School Live is set up as a fun little slice of life, cute girls doing cute things kind of story, where the main character Yuki has joined a club that lives inside the school. We follow Yuki through her day as she goes to class and interacts with other students and the other girls in her club. As we go through a bunch of situations that show Yuki to be a bit of an oblivious airhead, the vibe of the show seems to just be a bit of a fun story about some quirky girls that sleep at the school. As the story progresses, there's a few weird things that start to stick out. Like, why do the other club members not seem to go to class? Why is this girl holding a shovel all the time? Why are some of the windows broken? And why is this girl so anxious about everything? These strange details are definitely noticeable, but they're pretty understated, so it doesn't really make you question things too much. Then comes the climax of the episode, where the facade drops completely. The visuals change away from Yuki's point of view, and we see that this isn't an anime about a fun high school and the silly girls that live there. This is a horror anime about a few kids trying to survive a zombie outbreak, and a mentally ill girl that has completely repressed her trauma and is living in a fantasy where everything is still okay. This shift from Yuki's point of view actually left me with goosebumps. It's very reminiscent of the twist in Doki Doki Literature Club, which also gave me that intense feeling of unease. I did enjoy the rest of School Live, and there were a couple of other fun twists in the story, but you know, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it isn't going back in. That lightning in a bottle moment just couldn't be replicated, and School Live is another pretty good anime, with a masterpiece first episode that towers above the rest of the series. So, that's what I have to say about first episode syndrome, a term I may or may not have invented. You know, there's some alternate universe out there where Attack on Titan, after that incredibly engaging first episode hooked us in, just became generic shonen slop that ran for another 300 episodes without anything actually happening. But we don't live in that world. And luckily, most anime that start out great do continue to be great. Occasionally we'll get catfished by a great first episode, but it's rare enough that it's at least interesting when it happens. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more weeb shit.